Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be chatting and talking about how I balance work, training, and family time. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it, especially training. If I'm going to be training typically about twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. And when I mean 3 times a day, I'm talking about maybe I'll do swimming and cycling in the same day, where twice a day I'm doing running in addition to strength training, and then I'm trying to balance work. The goal at the end of the day is to not get fired. It's to not lose clients. It's to keep moving the business forward. So how do factoring balancing work and then also balancing time with our 13-month-old daughter and then my wife, as well managing that family time. And it takes a ton of work, to balance family time, to balance training. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking through the strategy, the structure that I use. It's not foolproof, but I'm hoping that I can provide you some comfort, provide some advice, some actionable tips that you can implement in your own life if you're a hybrid athlete dad or mom and you're going out there and you're training twice a day, you have a family, you have a busy job, what that looks like and how you can stay on top of everything. So when it comes to the effective time management, I want to make sure that I set clear boundaries for my work. I know these are all the tasks that I have to get done today, and I'm going to make sure that these tasks get done today. I'm going to minimize distractions. I'm going to put my phone on do not disturb, or put my phone on in the other room. Maybe I put my computer on do not disturb so that people can't message me on Slack and that I can just start working. And I'm going to build out and have and minimize those distractions because I know that I have to get this done today, because if it doesn't, you're going to get fired and that's the end of it. It's pretty simple. Clients are going to let you go. Maybe your job lets you go. So you want to make sure that you're getting everything you need to get done at your job. Now, when it comes to the training aspect of it, and for me effectively managing my time, I know that I either have a couple of options. I can either train when my daughter is at daycare, which would be during the workday, which a lot of the times isn't going to be feasible, and what I preferably would not like to do. Then you have it early in the morning where you could be training before she wakes up in the morning, or it could be after she goes to bed, or it could be later in the day. So for me, it's really trying to plan that time, and that's why I get up now. I get to the gym for 5:30. I like to get that in before our daughter gets up and then do that additional training. Usually try to get the work done for the day about 4 p.m. my time, maybe a little bit earlier. So that way, when I'm doing that additional training, I'm doing it. Maybe my daughter, she just got home from daycare. Maybe she sees me in the pool for 30 minutes, or maybe she sees me biking for 30 minutes. But that way, I'm not spending a ton of time doing this. So that way she can still see me, because I want to try to avoid conflicting my training time with my family time as much as I can. So I try to build my schedule around, okay, like when's our daughter going to be going home? Because right now she's going to bed when we go to bed. So she's going to bed at about 8:30, 8:45 at night. So we'll get her down for the night, and then me and my wife we'll get ready for bed, and we'll go to bed about 30 minutes after her. So there's not time then. So it's really the only times I have are going to be the times before she gets up in the morning, where I'm doing the strength training. And then where am I going to find that other additional time? It's usually going to have to be at the end of the day and try to get it in before she gets home from daycare, but then also managing the work aspect of it. So I know if I'm taking tons of distractions, if I'm just checking my phone, if I'm checking ESPN, now that's time that's taking me away from work and that's distracting me. And then all of a sudden it's 4 o'clock, I have to finish my work, and then I have to go hop into doing whatever I'm doing for the day, whether that's swimming, biking, running. There's not going to be enough time in the day, so I know that I have to minimize my distractions and I have to get my work done earlier in the day, if possible, to free up that chunk of time later in the day. And then when it comes to that family time, I always want to prioritize them over specifically working, and when it comes to doing any sort of training, whether that's cardio, whether that's doing the strength training there, because I want to be fully present and I want to be engaged with my wife and with my daughter and I know that I got everything done, and which is why I'm trying to be so disciplined throughout the working day so that I can get everything done. Because the last thing that I want to be doing is hanging out with my wife and daughter, and either I'm thinking, oh, I couldn't get this cardio session in today, or I couldn't get the strength training session in today, or I know that I have to do another strength training session, or I have to go out and I got to go for an hour, hour and a half run today. And now I'm just thinking about that the whole day, and I'm just going to be disengaged from them. And that's not what I want to be. I want to make sure that I'm showing up to my daughter, playing with her when she gets home, whether that again is maybe 30 minutes after she gets home, depending on what the work day looks like, that I'm always having dinner with her, that I'm not training when she's having dinner, and I'm enjoying time that I'm spending with my family, and that when I'm spending this time with my family, I'm pushing that off button. I'm not thinking about doing this training. I'm just thinking about the time that I'm going to be spending with them. And when it comes to spending the time with them, I know that I have to be adaptable. I have to adjust my schedule because with a 13-month-old, there's a lot of things that are unpredictable depending on her mood. How is she feeling that day? Is she sick? When she went to daycare, there's about a 6 week period where she was waking up throughout the night for a good portion of the night. And to give you an example, I was getting ready to go up Saturday morning. I like to sleep in, so during Monday through Friday, I'll get up at 4:50. Saturday, I'll have the alarm clock set at 5:30. I want to go out and do about an hour run before our daughter wakes up, and then Sunday, that's like my one day I like to just sleep in just to take it easy, feel as though I've earned that rest day. And with getting up at 5:30, our daughter, she was just going through a lot. She had a lot going on. She just wasn't feeling that good. And she just, as a result, she wasn't sleeping that good. So she was awake from about 11 p.m. to probably 3 a.m. And I know, like, okay, my alarm's going to be going off in 2.5 hours. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience. I haven't really slept that much. I know that if I get up at 5:30 and I go out on this run and then I come back, I'm just going to be exhausted for the entire day because Saturdays are my long run. So I knew that I had to adjust my schedule. So honestly, I just slept in that Saturday. I got up at 7. Luckily, our daughter was still sleeping. I don't think she got up until 8 in the morning, and I was able to go out there and do the run. And I knew that I had to adapt that schedule. There's times where I want to train at certain points during the day, maybe later in the day, maybe depending on the weather. If I want to go swimming in the pool, I would preferably not to do my swimming when there's a lightning storm outside, so I want to pull it in earlier. When it comes to running, maybe now I drop our daughter off at daycare at 8 a.m. and I'm coming back and I'm getting an hour run in before I go work for the day, so that way I'm not running when it's 95 degrees and there's a high heat index out there. So adjusting to the seasons, right now what I'm looking at is the sunrise in the morning, where initially getting up at 4:50, the sun would be getting up, or the sun would, I don't know if the sun was 100% up, but it would be light enough out where now when I'm getting up at 4:50, it's still pitch dark out, and I haven't experienced that before, so now I'm thinking about, like, when I'm running in the morning, what am I going to need? Am I going to need a headlamp? What type of equipment am I going to have to use when I'm running early in the morning? So I'm trying to stay flexible and adaptable, and then I'm thinking about, like, okay, when the winter comes, maybe I want to run like that later portion of the day when the sun's out, and at the nicest portion of the day, maybe that's 3:30, maybe that's 4 p.m., whenever that is. And then I know that sometimes, like, there's going to be things that happen in my work. There's going to be deadlines that come up out of nowhere, and I can't be upset. I just have to go out there and I have to deal with it. Or like I mentioned, when our daughter Sophie, when she needs extra attention because she has an ear infection, she might have a virus that's going on. Maybe she's just teething and it's just not going good. She's just having a really hard time with it, and she's up throughout the night, and I have to ask myself, like, yeah, I could push myself and I could go to the gym and I could wake up, but it's going to be, it's going to be really tough. Like, even this past week, she got up during the middle of the night from about, it really wasn't that long, it was like 12:30 to 2, and to try to get her back down. And we eventually did, between my wife and I. And then I was still pretty tired, and I find that just doing that, the week starts to drag a little bit. That was on Tuesday night, so I got up and I did a Wednesday morning leg day lift, and then I did a tempo run later in the day. And now I'm just, now it's Thursday during the week when I'm recording this episode, and I'm just being a little just a little tired with it. But I know that like if I'm getting up consistently multiple times throughout the night, maybe I do sleep in and I readjust. Maybe I start just cutting back a little bit. Not that I want to do that, but just having to be that flexible and being adaptable depending on what's going on. Because if I'm getting 2, 3 hours of sleep and I'm trying to get up and push my body as far as I can at the moment, and I'm not getting that good enough quality sleep, it's just not going to be a good time. So I know that I have to be flexible and I have to be adaptable depending on what's going on outside of what I can control. Well, let's say my wife's sick, or if she's been taking care of Sophie for a little while, I've been training, and she just needs a break. And then I have to know, like, okay, I have to give Sophie extra attention. I can take her from my wife. I can go do something with her, or my wife, she always hangs out on her own. So just being that flexible and adaptable. It's having that open communication with my wife to know, like, I have to do this training where I would much rather not on Sunday mornings get up and go swimming in the pool, but I have to do it to get it done. And her understanding is like she gets it, and she understands that if I'm training, like I gotta be training, I gotta be on it. Because if I'm not training, then I feel as though I'm not gonna be running a good race. So it's having that open communication with her and she's like, okay, I'm gonna be doing this bike ride today. I'm gonna be doing the swim. Is it okay if you watch Sophie for this amount of time? Or I have to go on a long run on Saturday morning, or I got to do this on Sunday, and just letting her like, this is what I have to do. I'm just letting you know. I'll be an hour, I'll be back, and then you have my full attention after that, and just letting her know what's going on instead of me just coming up out of the blue like, okay, here's what I'm going to be doing, and just having that open communication with her and having her understand that I would much rather be spending all of my time hanging out with the family, but knowing that I also have to be doing this training, and that's just an aspect of the lifestyle change that I've made over the last probably 6 to 8 months or so, and just having her and having that open door of communication. Like, am I training too much? Do you want me to pull back on it? And that goes back into setting these realistic goals that you have, especially as a hybrid athlete parent, that our time is already crunched. And for me, I don't want to be spending too much time away from my daughter. And that's where I came back to that first triathlon where I wanted to do the Olympic triathlon, which was about a 1.2 mile swim. I think that was comparable to what you would run in the 70 or swim in the 70.3. And it was a 25-mile bike ride and a 6-mile run. And I found that the swimming and the biking was to be more difficult than I had expected. And I knew, like, if I want to achieve this, I want to have full confidence, at least in the swimming aspect of it. And I was riding about my bike about 10 miles or 12 miles in an hour. And I felt as though, like, I needed more time to train on the bike. I needed more time in the pool, but there wasn't more time to get at that particular chapter in that particular period in my life when I was training for it. So I said, okay, I'm just going to do the sprint triathlon. That's what I feel comfortable with. That's what time allows me. I don't have to sacrifice any workouts in the morning at the gym. I don't have to sacrifice too much family time. That still gives me what I want to do. And then I know that, okay, if I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do an Ironman, I know now the pressure that's going to put on the family, that I'm going to have to be training a lot more when it comes to these disciplines of swimming. Not so much swimming, I feel very comfortable with that, but the biking or the running I feel comfortable with. It's the swimming and the biking, knowing I have to spend more time with that. And then when I spend more time, it's going to be pulled from somewhere else, or at the moment it could be that family time. But it goes back to having an open door of communication and them understanding, like, if I'm training for this Ironman, it's going to be a lot of time. And I want to know that you're committed to it, because that's going to be me taking time away from the family. And I find that setting these goals, it just helps me keep everything in perspective mentally, knowing like this is what I can do with the training that I have right now. And for the training that I want in the future, if I'm going out there and doing this Ironman, I can picture in my mind how much additional training it's going to be trying to do that. And if I want to go out there and I want to do that, then I'm going to have to pull my time from somewhere else. And that's just for me. It's just I'm avoiding overcommitting to these different races where yeah, I want to go out, I want to do like an Ironman like yesterday, but I know that with the circumstances that I have trying to work and be a father and be a husband, that there's a lot that goes into it, and that it's okay that I can go out there and I can change my goals depending on what I'm looking to do and depending on the circumstances that I have. But that's really, for me, how I go out there, how I balance my work, how I balance training, and how I balance family time. And there's no secret. Sometimes I feel like I'm neglecting my work. Sometimes I feel like I'm neglecting my training. Sometimes I feel like I'm neglecting my family. And there's no simple, easy part of it. And I think you just have to figure out what works best for you. And really, at the end of the day, what works best for your schedule. But I hope this has been helpful for you going over my experience of trying to balance my work, my family time, and my strength training and cardio aspect of all of everything that goes into the hybrid athlete training.